these are the metrics I think everybody needs to hear. There's a piece of NBA fandom that people need a reminder of. Okay, last year's NBA Finals were as predictable as they come, and everybody yelled about it. They were a sweep, and everybody yelled about it. People yelled about the fact that we all knew the Warriors were going to win. Warriors, Cavs, it's a disgrace to the NBA. Ratings were up 7% for the NBA Finals. 7%. So 7% more people watched an outcome we knew that was going to happen. And when you look across the course of the league, during the regular season, ratings were up about 8%. In the playoffs as a whole, they were up 6% for TNT. So you have to look all the way across the board and say, hey, for all of you right now that are sitting there saying, how could Boogie Cousins decide he's going to go to Golden State? The outcome is set. Here's a reminder that ultimately people are watching. And as boring as it may be to get Golden State every single year, what makes it interesting again? Trying to figure out how they're going to merge more personalities together, trying to figure out how they're going to get a volatile personality, according to some, in Boogie, trying to figure out how they're going to integrate a team that had the second lowest production in the entire NBA last year in most major statistical categories at center, now has a bona fide center if he's healthy, if he's able to come back. It's a huge if. But it gives us something to watch at Golden State. It gives us something to keep an eye on. Golden State, can't say this loudly enough, cannot re-sign him next year. I mean, if they re-sign him, the max they can give him is a 30% raise. So the biggest value they can give him is about $7 million a year. If things go well for Boogie next year, he's going to get one of those huge max contracts.
And that's what he's banking on.
Right. So he's going somewhere where he gets all the time. He's not going to be rushed back. He won't come back, most reports, till January, February, and he gets a long playoff run to come back. So he gets plenty of time to figure out his body. And in the meantime, Golden State gets an extra piece they can figure out if they want to use at no risk. The NBA didn't get any less competitive. And guess what? People are going to watch. People are going to watch Golden State just to see how it works.
It's just a reminder, this is Golden State winning the headline battle, because you're right, basketball-wise, very little has changed in our expectations. But headline-wise, you had the Los Angeles Lakers make the big splash signing with LeBron James, and then you followed it up with a couple of ones that didn't make a ton of sense to everyone, in Lance Stevenson and Rondo, and just looking at that situation and saying, all right, I don't know how these pieces fit together, but it's something. And then Golden State does this, and it fits perfectly with their lineup. It fits perfectly for what their timeline's able to afford. And so it just looks bad when we're so focused in this offseason on just winning those headlines. We knew we had a couple of marquee free agents hanging in the balance, and for one of them to land in Golden State, a place that has reached that Patriot-esque level of no move they make is the wrong move, it just kind of harshed everyone's mellow, for lack of a better term.
Well, and I understand that. I think what's interesting to me is that the metrics actually show the Pelicans got better after Boogie's injury at one point because they were able to speed up the offense more. So your deep dive is that Golden State ran the highest tempo offense in the league last year. So what, are they going to suddenly slow down the offense to bring him in? These are all basketball questions that they're going to have to answer. But we should give Golden State some credit because, frankly, Golden State always answers those questions. I mean, the fact that they can just bring in anybody. We've excused Oklahoma City last year for not playing well because, well, you don't just bring three superstars together and just have it work all the time. Well, in Golden State, you do. You bring anybody in, it works. I mean, there's a point where you just have to tip your hat and say, man, I hate it because it's not my favorite team. And that's the real reason people are angry about it. People are angry about it because they're not Golden State fans.
We also field outcomes, though. Like, that's another problem in our process. And in the NBA, we always say, historically, you'll just look back and you'll see this run of championships, and you'll have to explain context to everyone else who may not have been there. We'll forget that during this regular season, and I thought Pablo Torre, our colleague who works on High Noon with Bomani Jones, kind of nailed this one down. He said, luckily for us, the Warriors are going to play so lazily in the regular season that you'll end up doubting them anyway. Because that's what happened this year. The Warriors were injured enough during the regular season with sporadic injuries to their star players where we kind of doubted them going into the postseason. We saw them push. The Rockets were the 1 seed in the Western Conference. The Cavs weren't the 1 seed with LeBron James in the Eastern Conference this year, or the 2 seed. You had all of those doubts. You had them get pushed to 7 games. You had them give up a couple of games in early round series where, by the Warriors' own metric, like, we had seen them go through a clean sweep until they got to the finals the year before. Right. It's all these ways that we forget along the way. We had a lot of volatility, but once we see a sweep in the finals, it's kind of hard to get that taste out of your mouth.
Well, and there comes a point of is Boogie an energizer, right? Because one of the things Steve Kerr was trying to do in the middle of the regular season last year and letting the guys coach the team, something I hated at the time and I hate now, the thought that you're just like, man, nobody cares about this regular season game, so I'm just going to let you call some plays. Hated it then, hate it now. But it was all about keeping the guys engaged. You bring new blood into the locker room that hasn't been there before, that's trying to be around a championship culture. If Boogie took a pay cut to win a championship, he wants a ring. He wants a ring somehow, and he believes he can be healthy to contribute for that ring. He may not contribute, to your point, until midway through the season, but who cares? Who cares if he doesn't contribute until the playoff run? All he has to do is contribute in the playoff run, and he will feel validated for that ring.
That's always interesting, too, you mentioned, because Boogie's going to believe he can be ready for the start of the season and he can be a major contributor on this and all these different things, because that's the mentality of athletes and these guys at the top level. And I always wonder, because all of this is certainly us looking at this as people in the media who have to cover it, fans who have to watch the sport, where we say there's no competitive balance left in this, especially the guys in the Eastern Conference. The other day, I saw a tweet from Giannis Antetokounmpo responding to something that I think Skip Bayless had said, basically crowning another team the best in the Eastern Conference, or another player the best in the Eastern Conference. And Giannis said, that's all I needed. Thank you for the motivation this offseason. Because these guys are looking around, and I think a lot of them still believing in their heart of hearts, we can go accomplish something. And I wonder if there's ever enough trickle down or enough confidence, or enough overconfidence of what we see in Golden State to have that affect the other guys. Because while we see guys migrating there, there's still that mentality. People ask me all the time when we were getting ready to play Alabama in 2012 in that title game. Even guys that played, did you really think you had a chance? I would say, hell yeah, we were the number one team in the country. We absolutely thought that we had a chance going into that game. Why wouldn't we? If we didn't think we had a chance, what are we worth out there? And so I always think about that for the guys that sit around on these other teams in the NBA now that look at this Golden State juggernaut, and I have to imagine there's still a lot of them, especially a league full of all these great players, that say, well, yeah, of course we think we can go beat those guys, and we intend to.